So looking at the Creative Memories Starburst template or any Starburst pattern, it is basically a array of pieces of paper from a standard focal point. The Creative Memories template gives you two 4x6 mats on a background piece of paper with a 1/2-inch frame all the way around, and then all the pieces of that will attach to your, that will join together on your final 11x11 piece of paper on your grid. So in order to create this, I will have the printed instructions in the description below that you can print off and do, or you can follow along with my cuts as I work through the process with you, and we'll go from there. So once you have all your pieces cut, you can take a white sheet like I did and cut all your little pieces and save them on a little grid pattern, so that if it is required for you to mat out a separate piece or a photo mask, you know which piece went where, and you can place it and trace it on a photo and go from there. Once all these pieces are cut, you can create a double 4x6 mat, a single 4x6 mat, or you can add anything to cover your intersection pieces again at the end. So for my demonstration, I am going to be using the shimmering floral paper and some of the new shimmer paper that was included in the last promotion. So you will need a base sheet of paper. I'm going to be using a shimmer and a white for my bases. I'm going to be cutting 2 pieces right away to make a double page spread, alternating the pieces. So I'm using the some blue shimmers. I'm going to be working with the white one on top just because it's going to be easier to do my markings on this piece. So we'll be creating a frame, we'll be creating our 12-inch square, we'll be cutting our square at one piece for our focal point, and then cutting all our little edges. Very simple to do. So let's start by putting our 12-inch piece here. We're going to cut a frame. So for that, I'm going to be using my 12-inch trimmer, and I'm going to use Megan Jax's technique on using clips to make it easy, so I don't have to watch very carefully where my rotations are. They'll already be set on my trimmer. I store my extra pieces right on the bottom, the little clips I need to mark my trimmer. So to start off, I am going to slide my piece of paper in underneath my ruler, and I want a 1/2 inch mat. So you can see that here I've lined up my 1/2 inch mark with my paper flush at the edge. So I want my white mark on my trimmer to line up right with the top of that point there. And once I have that in place and I know exactly where it is for my cut to stop, I'm gonna peg it with my clip so my cutter does not go past that point. Same thing on the other end. I want a 1/2 inch back from my 12, so I want it to stop at the 11.5 inch mark. So I'm marking that with my piece of paper so I know where my white line has to finish. Gonna bring my trimmer down to that point. And set my grid. So my cutter cannot go past the 11.5 inch mark here, and it cannot go past the 1/2 inch mark there. So I'm all set to go. I'm gonna square off my sheets of paper. I'm going with a 1/2 inch frame So I'm going to go to the 1/2 inch mark on my trimmer and make my cuts. So now that I'm done cutting my 1/2 inch frame, I have an 11 by 11 inch piece of paper left, and I need to place my markings on the page. So I will slide my mat down here, bring it up to the top, nice and even, and I can just use my 13-inch cutting mat to make my marks that I need. So my top marks are at the 1/4 inch, right there, 3 1/2, 5 1/4, and 7 1/2. 7 1/2. Those ones are done. Easy peasy. My next mark is down my left side. I'm going to go, well, keep it square. My left side, I am going to go at 3. I'm going to go at 5 1/2. I am going to go at 8 3/4. My left side is now done. I now need to mark my right side. So I'm going to slide this over to the edge just so it's a little bit easier to see. I'm flush at the top, I'm flush down my side. I'm going at the 3/4 mark, which is right here. I'm going at the 4 1/4, 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4. I am going at the 6 3/4. We know that 6 3/4 is just shy here. And the last one is the 11-inch mark, which is right in the bottom corner. Done, done. Last one to go. The bottom is going to be at the 3-inch mark and the 6-inch mark. So let's go down on the bottom here just to go square. See that on my mat again. I am going at the 3-inch mark, which is here, and I am going at the 6-inch mark, which is here. All set. Now we need to mark a point in the center of our page to make that magic intersection piece that's going to come across. So for that, I am going to use my 0 centering ruler and slide it on my page. I'm going to put this behind underneath so you can see a little bit better. There we go. And on our mat, we are going to go at the 3 inches down and 3 1/2 inches across. So I'm going to slide this to the 3 1/2 so you can kind of see it on the page. There's our 3 1/2, and I'm going to go 3 inches down. So it is going to be right there, and I'm going to extend that across a little bit because the cut that I am doing, the first cut I'm making, is going to be from my 3 1/2 here to my 3 inch here. So it's going to come at a bit of an angle through this intersecting line. So once that's all set, all your markings are done. It's time to start cutting. So as I said, our first cut is going to be along that diagonal. I am going to set an extra piece of paper on the side. I'll use a white one for now, just to place my pieces as I cut them. I can set them on the off side. Slide this over, see if I can get both of them in the screen for you. There we go. So, off with the trimmer. The first cut, don't need my clips anymore, is going to be from the 3 inch mark here to the 3 1/2 down here. So I'm going to put both of those along my cut line. 3 to 3 1/4, and that is my first large cut. That would be on that half of the page, and this is my piece that would be on this half of the page as I put it back together. Okay, so I'm going to start cutting from the bottom corner here back to my center point. So you can see my center point. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for you because this is going to be covered, right, when you're done. So I'm marking it nice and big so you can see it. So from my center point here, I'm going to my first mark here on the outside. So I'm going across the cut line with that lower piece and the upper one, and that's my bottom corner piece. And the next one was about the 5.5 inch mark. You can see it right there. You may not see it well, but I still can. I'm going to go to my 3-inch mark here. On the line with that point. And we're cutting through that one. And then we did have one at the 3-inch mark. So we're going to go from there to the 3-inch mark here. And we're all set. If you're not exact following with mine, it doesn't matter, because as long as all your pieces are roughly the same size, you'll be okay. I've added the top mark sticky here just to help remind us where the markings are. And I'm going to grab my piece, and again, make sure they're flush together. My first mark was at the 1/4 inch mark, which is just off there, and that was my 3-inch point here. So I'm going from the 1/4 inch mark down to the 3. And that will be those 2 pieces. Again, across the top, I'm at the 1/2 inch mark. That one's already been cut. And now we are going to the 5.25 inch mark, which is right here. And we're going back to that 3-inch mark. So now we're on the second half of our grid piece of paper. That's that top part, and then we're going to the 7.5 inch mark. Please forgive me, I missed my 5.25 mark, so I went back and cut that in later. I did cut the 7.5 inch mark. So that's all the cuts from along the top of the page, and we're now going to work our way down the side. So down the right side, put those ones there. I should have a mark at the 3/4 inch mark. I see it there. There's my 3/4 mark. And again, I am going to that point over here, my 3-inch point. Number 1. Then I'm going to my 4.25 inch mark. All right, I'll finish all the cuts all the way around. So basically we're ready to start assembling back onto our base paper. But don't forget, once we made all these cuts, we just cut one line directly, splitting this piece of paper in half. So when you look at the templates, there's usually a gap space in between each of our little marks that are about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to show you how to do that as we start reassembling. Our bottom piece, I'm going to start in the bottom corner here just because I'm left-handed, or it works best for me, but whatever you want. I'm going to start with my base point. And because I have a 1/2 inch frame that I cut, I'm going to take my 0 centering ruler, mark my 1/2 inch up from the bottom of my page, and mark my 1/2 inch point here. So this is where my first piece is going to be going, down here in the corner. Now the outside edges are always going to be nice and straight along this edge, right? But our inside spaces, we need a little bit off of each side here to make things easy. Rather than cutting a bit off both sides, I'm just going to take my 1/8 of an inch, rather than a 1/16 of an inch on each one. I'm going to take my 1/8 of an inch on my right hand side as I attach it back to my page. So for this one here, I'm going to cut both of them. I wonder if I should be assembling both at the same time. So I'm going to be sliding my 2 pieces together once again, and I'm going to be cutting an 1/8 off. So your 1/8 off will be taking your trimmer and going from the one cut line across to the next dash line. So if you haven't flipped your gray blade around yet, you can still see your little dashed line. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to take away that little bit on each of my right hand sides of my paper as I go along. So put the blue back there, and I'm going to place my first one right here. I'm not going to tack anything down just yet because I'm going to put a few of these just to show you, and then we'll go on from there. Then I'll finish it off. So here's my next piece. Again, I'm taking off my little piece from the bottom on that line. In order to give me my spacing. This time I'm alternating. I'm going to put the darker paper here and return that one to the grid. And so forth all the way around my page. You can see how that's coming into play very nicely. One cutting tip I want to make is if you're ever cutting into a fine point, a lot of times if you bring your cutter into it, sometimes it bends it or catches it and rolls it in. So just start in a little bit, go out, and then come back down, and chances are you won't offset your tip and move it to the side and not get that straight cut you want. All right, hope that helps. So here's a quick overview of what it should look like. My recommendations when you stick them down, these corners, the top 2 and the lower right, has got the edge in. This one goes to a point. So I would mark on my sheet my corner marks and attach these ones so you know they're square first at your 1/2 inch mark using your 0 centering ruler, and affix those downs. Usually when I do a demonstration like this, I do my rough sketch and then I make one first and then make a second one when I'm working with you guys. But because I'm doing a double page layout right away, I did not do it this time. So as I came around with my cutting, I realized that the template design that Creative Memories has only has 13 grids. So as I was alternating colors, I ended up with 2 the same. So I went back, and in this upper square here, I did add a cut at the 2-inch mark. So I split that square. So I will amend my instructions so that will be included. But if you watched my demonstration earlier when I was marking, I did not have that cut in there. So I've added it on my page. Your final page, once everything's stuck down, will look something like this. This is the reverse. And again, if you attach your squares first, everything will be fine. And then you can set your image on the page, or a circle, or different things, where whatever you want. Have fun with this sketch, and we'll see you again real soon.